Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namahum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutare Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashchatyadeshatarine. Haribol, dear devotees. So today it will be in maybe 2 or 3 parts, but I have a very special pastime to share with you. And the title of the pastime is called the Holi War. Do you have the verse on the computer there? Or if on Gitabase, if you give me, then I can... So we'll start first with a verse from 10 Canto, chapter 30, verse, let us see, yes, verse 10. Actually, I did the Primadvani at the beginning. I was too eager to chant them. But we'll start first. You can repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Do you repeat after me the verse, or how do you do usually?
No, it's just
I just read, okay.
sitting here. Is it better now? Girdhari, can you hear him? Okay.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah, we just missed the Kirtan part, bro, because it went to the background noise.
Oh. So we'll continue the kirtan in the form of the Holi War. Kim te kritam krititapo bhata keshavangri sparshot savot pulakitanga naher vibhasi apyangri sambhava huru krama vikramadva aho varahava pusha padirambhanena. Translation and purport. Is it? Chapter 30 now. Translation. Oh, wait a sec. Yes, I have to move the Zoom image because I can't see the verse. Oh, yeah. Okay. O Mother Earth, what austerity did you perform to attain the touch of Lord Keshava's lotus feet, which has brought you such great joy that your bodily hairs are standing on end? You appear very beautiful in this condition. Was it during the Lord's current appearance that you acquired this ecstatic symptom? Or was it perhaps much earlier, when he stepped upon you in his form of the dwarf Vamanadev, or even earlier, when he embraced you in his form of the boar Varahadev? Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains the thoughts of the gopis as follows. Perhaps the trees and plants mentioned in the previous verses did not hear our question because they were in trance, meditating on Lord Vishnu. Or perhaps since they will not tell us where Krishna has gone, they are hard-hearted, even though they live in a holy place. Anyway, what is the use of unnecessarily criticizing the residents of a holy place? We cannot tell if they really know where Krishna has gone. So let us find someone who definitely knows where he is. Thus the gopis concluded that since Lord Krishna had to be somewhere on the earth, the earth herself must know his whereabouts. Then the gopis thought, since Krishna always walks on the earth, she is never separated from him, and thus cannot understand how much his parents, girlfriends, and servants suffer in his absence. Let us ask her what austerities she has performed to gain the great fortune of being constantly touched by the lotus feet of Lord Keshava. Jai. So I have to go back to the. Can you show me where's the page again?
Yes.
I'm not used to this computer. Thank you. Wow, that was just one swift move.
Yeah. Okay, also stop.
Expert.
Stop the share. Okay.
Okay, so we spoke the other day about the importance of absorbing ourselves in Braj Lila, and today we will do so in a magnificent way. So this morning, well, first of all, because Braj Kata is your life and soul, and it is the greatest nourishment for the heart of the devotee. Because when you hear Braj Lila, it connects you to the sweetness of Braj. And like we were saying, we cannot stay indifferent to the sweetness of Braj, especially Brajazilas, like we will reveal today in this sweet, but at the same time quarrelsome pastime of this Holi War. So this morning, I invite you, just pause yourself for a moment, because Braj Lila is so precious. And since it is Shabda Brahman, just like Jiva Goswami says in his Bhakti Sandarbha, he explains a very interesting point. He says that, for example, the verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recorded transcendental sound vibration in Radharani, Krishna, their loving feelings, their exchanges through these sweet loving pastimes are fully present. So when we hear Braj Lila, it's just like when we chant the holy name. When we chant the holy name, Krishna is there. Krishna is there, Radharani is there, Prema is there. The loving pastimes are there also. So it's just so very precious. Like right now, what we are going to do is to embark on this sweet, loving journey of this Braj Kata. And that is why we need to prepare our heart for receiving this Braj Lila. Because when you hear, actually something very interesting. I mentioned it last time we were here. But Bhakti Damodar Maharaj, I was in Navadviddham Parikram, and he said in a class, it was very beautiful. I never forgot this. He said in a class that actually our first entrance to Braj is through hearing. Yes, our first entrance to Braj is through hearing. So when we hear, we can connect to Braj. And through the hearing, what happens after that? After we hear, what happens with that sweet, loving sound vibration?
It enters into our heart.
Yes, exactly. Just like a sweet river, it enters into the garden of our heart and nourishes the Bhakti Lata beach in the heart. So this morning, I'm begging you, please give me your ears for the next hour, because we are going to embark on a very special journey together. Okay, so this pastime is very special because there will be singing, laughing, and also we will reflect how it happens also in this material world, but in a reflected way. But Holi is very special. Why Holi is special? There are many reasons, but let me see if you can find the reason I have in my mind. Mm-hmm. So Holi, I'll ask you another question. In which season does Holi happens?
Spring.
In spring, yes. And spring is very important for us, because although it will happen later, we have to, because the heart is like a garden, we have to bring spring in the garden of our heart. So what happens in spring?
Flowers bloom.
Yes, flowers bloom. And like, Maharaj was emphasizing so much in his classes since the beginning we were here, since the last couple of days. So important to develop love for Krishna. And the heart, or the Bhakti Lata Bij, that is the flower of Bhakti that is given in our heart by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, is there, but it needs to be nourished. It needs to be nourished. So that's why that spring season is very important for us. We need to bring that spring season so that it can actually, through the warm sun and also through just the refreshing atmosphere of spring, that it can flourish and make our heart, the Bhakti Lata Bij, open in our heart so that we are receptive to that sweet love for Krishna. Okay. Also spring, what else about spring?
About spring.
Yes. What does it remind us of?
New beginnings.
New beginnings. It brings new hope. Yes, what else?
Love is in the air.
Love is in the air. Yes. So life emerges from this cold earth, and then it brings new hope, beauty, and also love. We become more receptive to love. So, but the one thing, that's true. Before we start entering into Brajlila, we should never forget, how do we delve first? How are we given access to Brajlilas? What is that important aspect for us?
Guru Ashraya.
Sorry?
Guru Padashraya.
Yes, but that's not what I wanted to hear. That's definitely one. Yes, there's one important aspect in our sampradaya is yes, exactly, to connect to Mahaprabhu, because what does he do? He opens the doors to Krishna Lila, especially the Madhurya Lilas, because Madhurya Lila is just the intimate loving pastimes of Radha, Krishna, and the Sakis. Or we will introduce also the Sakas today in the Holi War. So because of that, actually even through his own life, Mahaprabhu, he demonstrated to us what is the purest devotion to Krishna. So, but one thing that is very interesting, and this we have to meditate on, actually, Prabhupada, I don't know if it was in the purport. Yes, I think it was in the purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada said that to become an internal member of the Sankirtan movement means to develop the mood of separation. If we want to become an internal member, I really like that. So, yes, actually, Mahaprabhu, he taught us how to develop that Vipalamba Bhav, that mood of separation. In an intense yearning, he was just expressing, where Kotai Krishna, Kotai Krishna, Kotai Krishna. Where is Krishna? Where can I see him? And actually, for us, it's important. It's especially important for us. There's one reason why. Because as aspiring eternal associates to be of Radha and Krishna, there's one thing, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains it in his commentary. He wrote a book where he makes a commentary on the Shikshastakam, of every verse of Shikshastakam. And he says something very interesting, that for us, the only separation we can experience is purvarag, anticipation of meeting Radha and Krishna. Just like Rukmini, she was in the anticipation of meeting Krishna. So for us, that purvarag is the only separation that we can experience. Anticipation. And I was thinking about that, and it's more about, when we long for Krishna, it's more, I miss the feeling of missing you. I miss the feeling of missing you. And it's, for us, it brings depth and sweetness to our devotion. So that's why it's very important. And that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught us, how to actually aspire for love. I don't have love for you, Krishna, but I want to love you. And we miss that. So like we were explaining the other day, the only problem in our life is that we don't have love for Radha and Krishna. So, okay. Okay. We're going to get into something very important. So, as we can see in the own examples of the residents of Vrindavan, what does separation do for them?
It intensifies their love.
Yes, it intensifies the love. And when Radharani, when she was separated from Krishna, when he was sent to Mathura, she embodied completely that yearning. And that yearning, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took to heart. So Krishna also, he treasures so much these feelings of separation because it's a very special form of worship. And that's why he wanted to taste that love, because that love was so intense as it was experienced directly by Srimati Radharani. So, yes, actually, these pastimes, the acharyas, they give an example. They're like shikarini. It's a blend of yogurt and sugar candy. They're sweeter than the nectar from the moon, and they're spreading the fragrance of concentrated love between Radharani and the gopis and Krishna. So, yes, today we will delve into the special pastime of Krishna during Holi that is overflowing, because we're saying it's spring. So since it is spring, it is overflowing with colors, with joy, and divine playfulness. But where did I get this? Because since the pastimes of the Lord are eternal and unlimitedly, I will say, repeating themselves, there are so many, sometimes of the same holy pastime, there are so many different revelations in the heart of the pure devotees of the Lord. Either they, like a Spurti Lila, they receive it in the heart and they experience it, or they have been part of that pastime directly. So, but I found there's one author, his name is Gadadhar Bhatta. He was a disciple of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and he really beautifully captured Krishna's holy lila in his songs, and it reached the ears of Jiva Goswami. And when Jiva Goswami heard one such song that was speaking of Krishna's ever-present love, Jiva Goswami was deeply moved. So actually, Jiva Goswami was really inspired by his own experience and absorption in that song. And to reciprocate with that song, he composed a verse that was emphasizing that Krishna can only be understood through Radharani and the forest of Vrindavan. So, yes. So here is the prayer that he wrote. To truly enter the mellows of Krishna's Leelas, one must connect with Radharani, Vrindavan, and the devotees who hold deep affection for her in their hearts. May we. So this is actually a very beautiful verse, and this is very important for us because, I'll read it again. To truly enter the mellows of Krishna's Leelas, one must connect with Radharani, Vrindavan, and the devotees who hold deep affection for her in their hearts. So that's why that connection to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so important. That's how we can delve into Krishna's Leelas, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna in the mood of Radharani, which makes, actually, just like Gaur Govinda Maharaj said, it's very beautiful how he explains that actually Krishna is Isha Shakti, means like he has that supreme willpower, but when he is governed by the love of Shrimati Radharani, or that mood where she is in separation and searching and yearning for him, actually becomes completely covered by Karuna Shakti, by this mood of Radharani, of giving herself, of her unlimited compassion and mercy and grace. So that's why it's so important to connect to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srimati Radharani, because actually she will give us entrance. Like we see Prabhupada, what definition also he gave us of the Mahamantra. We said the other day, my friend, my friend, my friend, but also he gave another explanation. He said, oh Radharani, please engage me in the service of Krishna. So when we chant, we beg Radharani to engage us in the service of Krishna. So that's why everything is connected to Radharani. And Prabhupada, although did not openly describe it, he does say in his book, Elevation for Krishna Consciousness, which is a compilation maybe of his lectures or talks. And in this book, Prabhupada says that actually we're servants of Srimati Radharani. And it was in September 5th, 1973 in London. Prabhupada gave a class on Radhastami. And he, I don't have all the details, but actually I'm just remembering now. And Prabhupada says, actually, we have to approach Radharani, because Radharani is so dear to Krishna. And if we approach Radharani, then Radharani, she will go to Krishna and she will say, oh, Krishna, There's this very nice devotee of mine, and I would like to introduce him to you or her. So please accept him or her. It's very beautiful. And there's a whole thing where Prabhupada describe how to take shelter of Srimati Radharani. It's very beautiful. So, yes. So Jiva Goswami, so he wrote a single verse, and he instructed two of his disciples to deliver it immediately to Gadadhar. And he said, find this Gadadhar and give him this letter. So the disciples, they embarked on a very long journey. They were searching for months until one day they arrived at a small village. There was a sadhu, he was taking his baldi. What is baldi? You know, baldi? His bucket bath. So he was in his gamsha and he was taking his bucket bath. So the disciples, they were observing the sadhu with his bucket and they asked, have you seen Gadadhar? Is he somewhere in this village? So the sadhu, he was standing wet in his gamsha and he replied, why are you asking? So the disciples, they revealed their intentions. They said, we have a letter for him written by Jiva Goswami. So as soon as the sadhu heard this, his behavior completely changed. And although he was dripping wet, he exclaimed, give me that letter, I am Gadadhar. So he very eagerly opened the letter, which contained only one single shloka. How can anyone ever dive into the nectarine ocean of Krishna's meadows without first making contact with Radharani, the forest of Vrindavan where her dainty steps tread, and the devotees who cherish her deeply in their hearts? So when he read that verse, Gadadhar was overwhelmed completely with emotion. And he exclaimed in delight, almost in like disbelief. And he said, Hari! Like with urgency, And then immediately Gadadhar, he hastened to Vrindavan to meet Jiva Goswami. And their meeting was so profound. And Gadadhar, he became a very beloved disciple of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. So he was a very deeply realized soul with very profound insights into Krishna Lila. And I wanted to set the scene a little bit since, we are taking these pastimes from him. It's really important to honor this extraordinary devotee. So, yes, okay. Like I was saying, it will be in different parts. So I don't know how much I will be able to share today, but we'll start, introducing this, how this war came to be, this Holi War. So, that's like I was saying, again, I humbly beg you to listen attentively, because if you close your ears, if my mouth, my heart will close also. So that's why I'm begging you to really open your ears and your heart for this sweet, loving pastime to be installed in the garden of your heart. So just to come back a little bit about spring. So the springtime sweetness, it's very special because it marks extraordinary beauty and opulence. And at that time, just close your eyes for a second. I have a little meditation for you. And those are also online. So the springtime sweetness marks extraordinary beauty and opulence. The forest of Vrindavan brims with the hums of choppy bumblebees, drawn to the nectar of the blossoming flowers. The charm of spring is further enriched by the melodious conversations of the cuckoos. Spring awakens the loving desires of the young gopis. So, just in your mind's eye, take a walk through this enchanting forest. See the golden creepers winding around the dark blackish tamal trees. Observe the vibrant flowers dripping with honey, their nectar attracting a symphony of sweet bumblebees. This forest, alive with cooling breezes, tranquil lakes, and love-intoxicated birds, sets the stage for this extraordinary pastime. Here unfolds a loving exchange between Radharani and Krishna, culminating in the joyous celebration of Chulan Yatra. So today, let us immerse ourselves in this divine vision where nature itself participates in their eternal enchanting Leela. So, once upon a time, Krishna, he was with his sakas in the forest. But somehow, on that day, he seemed a bit absent-minded. His thoughts were elsewhere. What was he thinking about? Let us scratch our heads. Yes. None other than his beloved Srimati Radharani. So among the cowherd boys, there were 3 of them who are especially attuned to Krishna's innermost feelings, particularly when his heart is turned towards the gopis. These boys were, yes,
And Subal.
not Sridham. He's not of that category. So Madhumangal, Subal,
Kinkiri.
he's a Priyanamasaka, but not in this pastime, not mention this one of the 3. But it's getting closer, it's warmer. Ujvala. So these boys were Subal, Ujval, and Madhumangal. And Madhumangal, he noticed Krishna's absent-mindedness, and he thought to himself, I know why Krishna is distracted. I know. And so basically, he thought to himself, I think, yes, I can feel it. He's thinking of the beautiful gopis. And the springtime also is conducive to loving meetings. I must make this happen. So Madhumangal was up to something. And when Madhumangal is up to something, you're up for a wild ride. So he approached Krishna and he said, Hey, Krishna, our pastimes are a little weak today. You've grown weak in the company of these cowherd boys. Meanwhile, the gopis have become very strong in their love. You should not associate only with these weak cowherd boys. And hearing this, the cowherd boys, they grew nervous. So, actually, Krishna, he looked at Madhumangal with questioning eyes, and Madhumangal, he reassured him. He said, don't worry. With my strength, my powerful mantras, you were able to lift Govardhan Hill and kill so many demons. This momentary weakness in you and your party can be overcome by my actions. So without warning, Madhumangal, he began to dance wildly, but there was no rhyme or rhythm, just an outburst of movement. And he danced so vigorously that his Brahmin thread fell to the ground. Remember that one. Okay. So seeing this display in front of him, this humorous display, Krishna and the Kaibas, they burst into laughter. So Madhumangal, taking the role of an actor, he pretended to be deeply offended. And he said, you dare to laugh at a Brahmana? A Brahmana should not stay where he is neglected. I have had enough of your company. First you're weak, and now you're offensive. I will leave your party and join Radharani's side instead. So he stormed off, ignoring Krishna and the boys, who laughed even harder at his turn of events. So as Madhumangal walked toward the gopis, they felt a spark of hope. So the darkness of their separation from Krishna might soon come to an end, because Madhumangal is there. So because also he's one of Krishna's dearest messengers, he was approaching, and they knew that. Because Madhumangal, Subal, and Ujval are Priyanamasakas. And what are Priyanamasakas?
They're privy to Radha and Krishna's pastimes.
They're privy to Radha and Krishna's pastimes, and they're organized meetings between Radha and Krishna. So, for example, there's this pastime, like where Krishna, he steals the clothes of the gopis. Who are stealing? Which sakas are stealing? Because it said that there are younger sakas.
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
Which are they?
Kinkiri.
They are Priyanamasakas, like Kinkini.
Yeah.
Yes. So the Priyanamasakas, they are also doing pastimes like that. They stole the clothes of the gopis. Yes. So, okay. So Madhumangal, he reached the Sakis, and what did they do? So actually, they immediately surrounded him, and because they were overcome with longing for Krishna, they couldn't control their excitement, because they knew if Madhumangal was there, they would be able to meet Krishna soon. So, in their playful desperation, what did they do with Madhumangal?
Tie him up.
They tied him up to a tree with a shika like that, to a branch. Ay, ay, ay. Starts well, huh? So this is love. Love is like a trans-rational feeling, you know, it's beyond logic. Love is beyond logic and reasoning. Yes, this is love. So the gopis, full of mischief, they tied Madhu Mangal and they teased him, saying, "You come from that rascal Krishna, so you must also be a rascal. We'd better teach you a lesson." Whoa. And as they danced around him in a circle, even Radharani, she couldn't help but laugh. So Madhu Mangal, he caught up in the mood and he began to laugh and move his neck like that and on shoulders without fully understanding why the gopis, they were laughing at him. So turning to Radharani, Madhu Mangal, he said, "Oh Radharani, your Sakis are a little uncivilized. I have come to you for shelter. Please protect me from your ferocious gopis." So Radharani, she was recognizing how dear Madhu Mangal was to Krishna. So she untied him and she said, "Oh, intelligent one, you're a Brahmana who knows the essence of the Vedas. But where is your Brahman thread? Why don't you have your sacred thread on?" And actually, Madhu Mangal smiled and he said, "Listen carefully, and I will tell you why I have no sacred thread. I had a quarrel with Krishna, and in my anger, I took it off and threw it at his feet. I made a solemn oath. Oh Hari, I am leaving you now until I see you bow at the lotus feet of Radha. Only when you are defeated and humbled will I wear my sacred thread again. Remember this vow of mine. Only when I see you, Hari, defeated by Radha, will I place the Yajna back on my shoulders." So he paused for a second. He added, "This reminds me of another story about someone close to Prahlad Maharaj. Was it his sister or his mother? She made a vow to eat with only one head until her son became cultured enough to ask why. These vows hold great meaning, much like mine." So Madhu Mangal declared with a mischievous grin, "I have changed sides. I will now act as your advisor, Radharani, and guide you on how to defeat Krishna in the battle of Holi. He needs to learn a lesson. He is far too fickle-minded and must be put in his place. But first," so he said, he placed a hand on his stomach. "Can you hear this growling? I must be fed." So Radharani, she was smiling knowingly. She arranged a sumptuous feast for Madhu Mangal and she herself personally handed the meal to him. Wow. Because she knew that Madhu Mangal is so dear to Krishna. So for her, that was important to do that. Beautiful, huh? So she ensured that Madhu Mangal was served with the utmost care. And because she was knowing how dear, like we're saying, he was to Krishna. So as Vishaka, she observed the scene. She whispered to Radharani, "Oh, Saki, I see a desire in your heart. You want to play with Shyam Sundar. Why else would your voice tremble, your face change color, and tears fall from your eyes? Why are there goosebumps on your skin? And why do you appear so dizzy?" So Radharani, she confided, "You have understood my heart. I want to play with Shyam Sundar, whose limbs shine like the sun of my destiny and are adorned with the beauty of the moon." So at that very moment, Krishna, he was sensing Radharani's longing, and he was deeply moved. So he picked up his flute and he whispered to it, "Now, play like you've never played before." But Krishna was so overwhelmed with emotions and love for Radharani that he couldn't blow into the flute himself. So instead, he chanted Radharani's name into it. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. So the flute, enchanted by Krishna's love, began to sing her name, filling the air with divine music. Jai Radhe Jaya, Radhe Radhe, Jai Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe.
Jai Radhe Jaya
Radhe, Jai Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe Jaya, Radhe Radhe, Jai Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe.
Jai Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jai Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Radhe.
Jai Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jai Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe.
So this was exactly what Madhu Mangali had planned. He wanted, having joined Radha on his side, he used his playful intelligence to bring Radha and Krishna closer. And the atmosphere became electric with anticipation. Because the gopis, they were really eager to meet with Krishna. So how are we with time? What time is it?
Not at 8:50.
Okay, so we should finish at 9 or?
Yeah.
Okay, 10 minutes more.
We'll continue next.
Yes, there's more. It's part 1. And it will make us eager to hear more.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'll finish with that. Sorry. So after finishing his meal, Madhu Mangali complained to the gopis. A meal is only complete if it ends with freshly churned butter. So Radharani, smiling at his greediness, she signaled to Sudevi with her eyes. Sudevi, she understood the silent comment, and she said, "Oh, Brahmana, do you want old butter or freshly churned butter?" So, fresh butter, of course, replied Madhu Mangal very enthusiastically. Very well, said Sudevi. She placed a chadar over his head and a clay pot on top, and she claimed it was filled with the finest milk for churning. So Sudevi, she started, so she said, "We've put the best milk in this clay pot." But in reality, it was filled with wild colors inside that were swimming like waves in the water. So she remarked, actually,
Wild what?
it was with colors, different colors. Yes. So actually, Madhu Mangali says, "But this is the only way? But why?" And then the reply comes, "Because if it is on the head of a qualified Brahmana, the taste increases 1,000,000-fold." So Madhu Mangali sits there with a big pot, while Sudevi, she's on a seat, slightly elevated, and she announces, "The butter is ready." But Mangali says, "Come on, it's so heavy, please, please." So she said, wait, good butter needs some time. So she keeps going again, she's teasing Madhu Mangali like that. And Madhu Mangali becomes impatient and he says, "Quick!" But Sudevi says, "Don't move, Brahmana, sit steady." So Madhu Mangali protests, but Sudevi interrupts and says, "Hey, don't talk. You wanted fresh butter, and we're preparing it just now. Hear the noise from the churning, be quiet." So then, with a sign, Sudevi, she takes the stick and bang! She bangs it on the clay pot, and suddenly all the colors inside exploded and splashed over Madhu Mangal. And then it landed everywhere on his eyes, and on his ears, down his chest, and onto his belly, making it gleam and glisten in the sunlight, because it was spring. So his dhoti was transformed in a riot of colors of green, black, yellow, red, pink, every shade of color imaginable. So Madhu Mangali jumps up at the Sakis around, and the Sakis, they surround him, and they're all armed with syringes of colored water, and they quickly drench him with even more vibrant colors like that. And then Radharani, she looks at him in that moment, and she finds the scene so beautiful. And her delight grows more and more as the gopis, they gather to join in drenching Madhu Mangal even more with more colors. And Madhu Mangal's there, they stand on end as he dances, and he says, "Oh, ho, ho, ho." And this is so enlivening. He was just in complete bliss, being, surrounded by Sakis and receiving all these colors. And so the gopis, they continue. And Madhu Mangal's complexion changed from black to green to red as the layer of colors, they were, layer after layer after layer of colors were coming upon him. And then they started with wet colors, and after that, dry colors. And it was like a kaleidoscope of different hues. And just like, with the different colors, the layers, he was transforming into different colors in front of everyone's eyes. So finally, the bombardment became too much for Madhu Mangal, and he screams loudly, "Oh!" And at that moment, he receives a playful strike from behind, and then he jumps in surprise. And another playful blow lands on his chest. It's a lotus flower this time, and the Sakis, they were hitting him with, sticks and flowers like that. And from the outside, Madhu Mangali appeared completely desperate, but in his heart, he knew something extraordinary was unfolding. So, actually, at that time, Madhu Mangal in his heart, he senses that the pastime is reaching an unsurpassable height. And because he knew that Krishna will take revenge. So, finally, Madhu Mangali screamed dramatically, "Brahmahatya! Brahmahatya!" And what is Brahmahatya?
Killing a Brahmin.
Killing a Brahmana, yes. And his voice carried over the forest, reaching Krishna's camp. And we'll finish here for today. So is there any questions or comments before we finish this sweet, loving pastime?
Is there any description about what the colors are made out of?
No, I didn't get any details of that. It will be nice to hear, though. Usually different pigments, minerals. No, actually, from what I remember personally, they use also colors from fruits and vegetables, like carrots, beets, and fruits like strawberries, things like that. And also from minerals from the Govardhan Hill. And sometimes from flowers also. There are different ingredients they use for making the different dyes. Yeah. Anything else?
And they're fragrant. Huh?
Yes, they're fragrant also. Yeah. Sometimes just from the ingredient itself, or they add also perfumes into the, especially in the water. The water is perfumed with sandalwood and camphor, things like that. Yes. The Holi War ki. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande. Jai the assembled devotees ki.
Maharaj, there is some request in the chat.
Oh, yes, yes. I cannot see the chat, so I didn't see the question. What was the question?
Guru Mate is saying, like, why can't we continue forever?
Yes, I agree. This is, yes, I feel you completely. This has to go on forever. And that's why, actually, that's what, like we were saying the other day, we're meant for this. We're meant for this eternally. So let us start with, entering Braj through hearing and chanting, and then let us continue forever in eternity as we are gradually introduced more and more into these sweet, loving pastimes of Krishna, where we can also become a part of it one day. Jai.
Maharaj, remember, like, any friend of Krishna who went to Radharani's camp and came back without getting insulted?
Sorry?
Do you remember any of the Sakhas, like Krishna's friends, went
Yes.
to Radharani's camp and came back without being insulted?
Yes, that's true. I don't remember, no. Anything else?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Jai. Haribol. Jai.